Celebration of Veterans Day when we are thanking everyone for their service. First thing we're going to do, just sort of in order so you have it, we'll have the scouts go ahead and raise the flag, and then the anthem will be sung, followed by a little ceremony for the scout leaders that have been involved in this for a while, and then we'll hear from some of the veterans here in this town. And then we'll begin closing everything out. So, yeah, I'd like to thank both the fire department that's here, South King County Fire. Thank you very much for showing up. The Des Moines Police Department is here in force, so everybody will behave themselves. But it's nice of them to show up. And then I'd like to thank the Scout troop here, who's going to present the colors and raise the flag. So please go ahead.
Color guard attention. Audience attention. Color guard forward march. Halt. Color guard right. Face. Color guard, prepare to raise the colors. Color guard, raise the colors. Audience, right hand salute. Color guard, lower the flag to half mast. Color guard, reform ranks. Color guard, about, face. Color guard, forward march. Color guard, halt. Color guard, at ease. Audience, at ease.
And now we have the national anthem from Amara Drakowski.
No. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars gallantly streaming in rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you. Excellent job. And it's not everywhere we can arrange for a flyover during the anthem. But, that's one of the joys of living in Des Moines. Okay, can I have William Zook and Drayton Dukowski up here? Over here. Okay. And I understand... Zook? Okay. I'm sorry. Okay, well, these two have been in charge of organizing the Scouts here, and one of them is leaving. Okay. And Zook? I'm sorry, I don't know the faces and names, but, and essentially we've been able to have great support from the Scouts, and so what we wanted to do is honor that support and the passing of the torch to you. And Councilmember Gene Otzinger would like to give you a pin. And these pins are the City of Des Moines pins, and they represent our appreciation for your service to our city and by helping your organization and our organization come together. Thank you very much. And I'm going to ask briefly to sort of talk about deployment. This is one thing that we ask our soldiers to do, and to be deployed overseas. And there are some good things about that. There are some hard things about that as well. When I was young, I had the privilege of going over to Egypt, Saudi Arabia, as well as Salzburg, Austria, and living in those places for a while. And it's wonderful to get to see a new culture. And this is the upside to deployment, because you go somewhere else in the world, and while you've got your job and you've got your duties, you get to interact with another culture and you learn more about them, and that helps bring the world that much closer together. I can tell you, having lived in two Muslim countries, that I have a much better understanding of what it means to be a Muslim than I would if I'd grown up here in the United States, and that is a very positive experience in my life. But we ask our soldiers to be deployed, and they're leaving everybody behind, and they may have their friends with them in the service, but their families are here. Sometimes they're married and they're over there, and that's a huge sacrifice. And so we're appreciative of people who are willing to leave what they know, who they're close to, their support systems behind, and go represent the United States over in the rest of the world. And so the deployment aspect of being a veteran is something that is greatly appreciated by everyone. Now we have a number of vets here. Can we see hands of people who are veterans? Okay, almost half the crowd. That's fantastic. And we even have somebody who's a veteran of the Chilean Navy here, Patricio. There he is back there. You may know him from his business EC Computers here in town. Mendoza, thank you very much. And then we have a number of vets who want to talk to us. Drayton, were you going to talk? Oh, we didn't do the pledge. I'm sorry. I lost track on that, so I apologize. Okay, but Williams, do the Pledge of Allegiance, and you can lead everybody in that. So please stand.
Please join me in Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Two.
All right, thank you. And Drayton?
Hi, that's loud. My name is Dayton Drazkowski, and a few days ago I was asked to come and speak to you all about something that I've really only ever heard of and never experienced. Many of you guys have experienced it. It's deployment. It's a relatively simple construct. You hop on a plane or a boat, or you drive or you take a train to some place you've never been to before, or some place you have been before, and you live there for months, or even years at a time, or you could be fighting on front lines, or you could be fixing cars as a mechanic. I know that deployment is not as simple as it is. It's not as simple as it is on paper. So I called two people in my life who have been deployed in other places, my two grandfathers. I was listening to their stories as I had so many times before, and I noticed multiple similarities. They missed home. They missed seeing their families. They missed the safety home gave them. They missed knowing what was happening in their families' lives. Babies being born, weddings planned, and of course more. Life at home was simpler and less full of worry. Of course, there was always stories of good times, things they enjoyed like cards, or stories shared around a campfire or a heater, and sometimes minor inconveniences like guard duty. As I sat there and listened, I felt extremely proud of my grandfathers, and I was in awe of not just them, but everyone who served and left behind home to protect us. I felt extremely lucky to be in the presence of two amazing people telling me stories about many other amazing people. When I was done, I thanked them for their time to talk with me and their service. And yet I realized that my thanks will never truly describe just how thankful I am for them. As I stand before you, I say thank you to each and every one of the veterans here for their service and sacrifices, and just know that my thanks will never truly express just how grateful I am.
Thank you very much, Drayton. And now, next I want to welcome up who I believe is the oldest veteran in town, a World War II veteran. And can you tell us a little bit, when you come up, will you tell us what your rank is and where you were deployed to and the service that you were in? Do you want some help?
I'm okay. I'm only old, not disabled.
Okay. All right. This is Pat Nardo.
How many World War II veterans do we have here? Put your hand up. How about Korea? Oh my God. Okay. I wrote a speech and I'm going to have a difficult time because I'm freezing I'm a little cold.
Way to edit that for me.
Are you laughing at me?
With you.
With you.
Oh, thank you.
No, we're going to have to edit that if you use it wrong.
Okay. How many of you guys have eaten K rations, C rations, 10 and 1 and MREs? God bless you and thank you for your service. Okay. When America calls, we respond with all we have to offer. Life, limb, body, and mind. We are GIs, government issue, expendable units of flesh and bone to be deployed anytime to any place. Our safe return is not ensured. The world is small, so very small, until you are a world away from those whose love you share. Familiar places, friendly faces, no longer near. None to hear, not a telephone booth within 1,000 miles. We become brothers, and we learn to enjoy some pleasantries, jokes, a beer or two, and pranks to ease tensions. Letters from home, no matter the situation, mail call is always a celebration. Chow call is not always a pleasant surprise, and mess kit fare is never to be envied. I'd like to share a little story from Korea. The war was ended, for us at least. And we had a mess sergeant. He wanted to do something really nice for us. God bless us. Everything was in cans, bags, and boxes. So what he did was, and I'll never forgive him until I die, he made us the best lemon jello with diced Spam in it. We may wear different uniforms, but we share the commonality of purpose, that of duty to God and country, the preservation of our freedom and democracy itself. Hero is not a title sought, though some may live to claim it. We pray for those today. Dog face, jughead, ground pounder, leatherneck, Swabian flyboy. To some, but to us, we are the epitome of service. We take all the references with humor, knowing who we are and why we serve. When missions end, the call to home tugs the lonely heart yearning for return to normal, for which the joyful medicine is a welcome home from family and friends. Home to luxuries like hot dogs, ice cream, a glass of milk, and endless pizzas and hamburgers. We are home, and the world is only as big as our neighborhood again. Today, we enjoy with pride the safety and security that we have labored to guarantee America, and our reward comes back forever. Job well done. And the medals are kind of nice too. Thank you, everybody. I could use a hand. Tony, I need a little bit of a hand to get back to this.
Really quick, just say, yeah, let's go.
Yeah,
I'm gonna give him my jacket.
No, I'm okay.
I want you to be moved.
I just want to sit down.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm not okay. Well, okay. Thank you. Get on with the show.
All right, thank you, Pat.
Thank you.
So our next speaker is Tony Hetler, who many of you may know from almost everything around town. He runs Destination Des Moines and John L. Scott Real Estate. Thank you. Please,
Thank
Tony.
you. Tony Hetler. I was in U.S. Army in a division called the Army Security Agency, and I was in for 3 years. Signed up for 4, but the Vietnam War was ending, and they said, you can go home. And I said, okay, I'll go. Anyway, my rank was E4, Specialist 4, and it was a great career in the military. And like Pat, you remember the friends and the places you've been. And so I have a few words, and it was grateful to hear your words, because a lot of the things I will say that I will repeat, because they run true no matter which time that we served. And you're in World War II Korea, I was during the Vietnam War, and then there's others that have served, and we remember the same things. It's the people and the friends that we have. But thank you for being here to honor those who have served, not only in the military, but in every other service in this country. It's just, we all are part of this, and I want to thank everyone for serving in whatever capacity you have. My deployment starts a little differently in scope, because it starts the day you're inducted into the military. As a 17 or 18-year-old, you're right out of high school, and you'll probably be on your first adventure away from home. And the first duty station will be miles away from home, away from your friends and the family, your loved ones. And you're gonna have new surroundings and cultures. And I always like to hear guys from Texas, because they've never left Texas, and now all of a sudden they're in Washington. And hey, welcome to our world. So here I'm a stranger in a strange environment, not knowing what to expect. And this is the beginning of a journey that will repeat itself several times. So I went from Fort Ord, California, to Fort Devens, Massachusetts, to Silby Station in Okinawa, to Thailand, in Northeast Thailand, and then back to Virginia. And so it was we're deployed in many times in a very short period of time. But we're unsure and we're apprehensive. We want to walk in confidence. I mean, we're around people that are pretty scary dudes. If you ever went to basic training, you're meeting people for the first time from all sorts of worlds and lifestyles, etc. And it's not like at home. And I have to live with them in a 50-bed Bay Area. I have 50 brothers living with me, sleeping in the same place. So there's no time for modesty or privacy. And in 8 weeks, you adjust and accept that you have 50 new brothers. Friends you will never forget. And my favorite one was Dietrich. We didn't get into trouble, but we got into a lot of fun. And there's mystery and there's anxiety that shape your mindset as you await your orders to be shipped overseas to a foreign country. In a situation where you will be deployed during a war increases the anxiety. During the Vietnam War, it was common to be deployed out of training straight to Vietnam or to Asia to support the war effort. Strange land, unknown cultures, and we had to be prepared to be good guests in a foreign land. And the military did a really good job of that. They prepared us when we went into a foreign land. So we knew the culture, we knew the behaviors and the things and practices so that we don't insult them. Communications with loved ones, as Pat noted, was via mail call. And it was, you always look forward to that day. Many days, there was no mail for anybody. And but you got used to it, and you had your friends and your fellow soldiers or airmen, whatever. They were there to help and support one another. It's kind of different in this day and age. They do FaceTime in war zones. Ooh, it's hard to imagine. It was a great gift to be deployed in a foreign country. Well, I learned to appreciate that all that was left behind, really talking to family, loved ones, and friends, it's it's a little sad at times, but again, you have your friends, and we all are in the same situation. And much to our dismay, there were no McDonald's in either Okinawa or Thailand. And but we learned to engage into the culture and the foods of that culture. I didn't particularly care for Japanese food, but I love it now. We also appreciate the gift of living in new cultures and meeting the local residents. In Thailand, it was really cool. I lived in a village in Thailand, and ultimately they gave me a nickname, and they told me what it was. I can't pronounce it, but I asked for a translation and said, "He who smiles," because it was a beautiful place to be, engaging in the culture and having a wonderful opportunity to meet people. I came back a better person, a more appreciative American, because of the experience. And almost 50 years have passed, and I have fond memories of the people and places that I've been and still cherish. Those deployments, they were the best thing that happened to me and many others. And again, there's a lot of conflict, and Pat, I thought, said it very well. There's our duty, and in the end, that duty stays close to our heart, but it's the friends and people we meet, the cultures, etc., that really stay with us to the end. But most important, out of all that service, is that I got to serve our country. And that is always the top of the list. And like many of you who serve, not only in the military, but other areas, serving our country is the greatest thing and the greatest gift we can give to each other and to our country. I'm blessed. God, thank you for being here. Have a good day.
Thank you very much, Tony. And our next speaker is the mayor of our fine town, Matt Mahoney.
Thank you, Harry. I'll speak into the mic a little bit closer. First of all, Hey, Pat, it's not as cold as Korea today, right?
Oh my God, no.
And Tony, just so you know, the McDonald's in Germany, you could get a Big Mac and a beer. So, little upgrade. My name is Matt Mahoney. I was a sergeant in the U.S. Army. I served 4 years active, 4 years reserve. I was sent to Presidio Monterrey, where I went to the language school and learned Czechoslovakian, and it's been a great asset for the rest of my life. But at the time, it was during the Cold War. I arrived in Germany. I was assigned to the 8th Infantry Division, where I was assigned to 2 artillery units, and I became a gun bunny, as they like to call it. And the first sergeant found out I could type, and I ended up in JAG for the rest of my career, which was fascinating. I was attached to the prosecuting attorney for the 8th Infantry Division. But it was a wonderful experience. The reason why I chose deployment as a subject, and as those of you that have come every year, I always try to get a theme. I wanted people to realize the sacrifice away from this country that each and every one of these veterans have made. So I thought I'd tell you my story. I remember when I received my orders for Germany, I was excited and I was scared at the same time. It would be the longest journey of my life. I would be going to a foreign land. It was the first time I'd been out of the country, and it was going to be so far away from home. I ended up being stationed in a place called Baumholder, Germany, and it was nicknamed by the soldiers who served in Europe as the Rock. It was the place you didn't want to go to. It had been a place built by Hitler in 1938 and used as a launching point for their assault on France. It was one of the less desirable duty stations in Germany because it was in the mountains. It had 5% visibility year-round. It was cloudy, cold, and raining when it wasn't snowing. I can actually count the sunny days. I was there for 3 years on one hand, and I do not lie. I used to tell my kids that I used to walk in the snow uphill both ways, and I wasn't lying, because where my barracks were and where my motor pool were on both sides of the mountain. Just to give you an idea, I was 5,058 miles away from here. I Googled it just to be sure I knew, but it might as well have been on another planet. I was a young man. I was stationed there when I was 23, and I didn't know what was before me. I remember I would call my family in the middle of the day, but it would be 2 a.m. here. And my parents would talk to me. You could tell they were tired and sluggish, but glad to hear from me. I was learning their language. I was learning new customs and cultures, as Tony talked about. And I was struggling to feel comfort. But it was an amazing time. I visited sites and experienced things I only saw in movies and books. And I really got an affinity for the European culture. But still, you always felt so distant from the states, as we like to call them. And I remember only knowing a little about what was happening in the U.S., maybe what the Stars and Stripes or Armed Force Network told you, but you felt like you were kind of a ways away. I used to have the hometown newspaper. I would subscribe to it. In fact, Councilmember Oxiger, he's around here somewhere, happened to be with the Pierce County Herald, and I used to get it. And it connected me. Of course, it would be about 2 weeks late, so I'd find out if my high school football team won, if friends of mine got engaged, and unfortunately sometimes I found out about the death of one. But it was always kind of belated and dated information. But I remember the holidays, and as we're coming to these, I want you to remember that for our veterans and those serving now, it was probably the hardest time. So what I would do every year during Thanksgiving through New Year's is I would volunteer for border guard duty, and that allowed some of the other soldiers to rotate home on leave. I didn't have any desire to go home. I felt for that time I could stay and guard our borders while they did. But I remember that first Christmas. It was a Christmas Eve. I was standing guard on the German-Soviet Union border at the time. I remember the night was so cold, but the stars were brighter than I've ever seen them before. And I was staring across what we call no man's land. This was a strip of land. It was approximately 300 meters long. It was tilled by the Soviet army, and it was a way for them to slow down people trying to escape from oppression to freedom. And they could track who was going, what the routes were taking, so they could post their guards to it. It was a difficult thing because some of our instructions were, if they were firing on people escaping, we couldn't fire back. We couldn't defend them or anything like that. Now, fortunately, I never had that experience, but I do know people that did. It just shows you the difference between worlds as they were colliding at this point. But my job was simple. I was there, and if the tanks came rolling over, and we were always told they would the Soviet army would do it at Christmas or someplace like that when we were vulnerable, and all I simply was going to do was push a button that World War III had begun. But in those nights, believe it or not, across this 300 meters, I could see huge bonfires, and I could see the Russian army around those fires. I think they were celebratory on a little bit of liquid, you might say, made from potatoes, if you catch my drift. But one thing is as alone as I felt there, I never did really feel alone because I had my brothers in arms. But during that time, and you have to understand, you're there, you're alone, you're doing your duty. I remember thinking about what my family was doing that night. You know, were they opening presents? Were they having a nice dinner? Were they sitting around telling jokes and stories? Was the music playing Andy Williams, Johnny Mathis, or maybe Jackie Gleason's orchestra? Because my mom always insisted that be played during the holidays. But the great thing is all those experiences in my mind came forth at that time when I missed my family the most. But I wasn't sad at that time, though. I was comforted in knowing that my service was protecting the things that I value. And I was in good spirits. And while this is only one night of many that I had, my story represents all of the veterans that served wherever they served and had similar experiences. I want you to know, though, unlike myself, there's many that do struggle. They deal with the mental issues, those kind of things. They're away. You could see it. We always had to cheer up a few of our brothers in arms, our sisters in arms, because they didn't take it so well and they really missed home. And I want you to remember as you move through tonight and through the holidays, it's important that you do remember that. One other thing I want to say is that I want to honor our police, firemen, and EMTs as well. A lot of people forget they're kind of the veterans of America. Even though we've got soldiers serving in our post, these guys, day in and day out as well, should be equally represented on a Veterans Day. They're the ones you call in the middle of the night and they come, whether you're having a medical emergency or you need some help or there's a bad guy on your street or something like that. I just want to say thank you to you guys too, and I want to thank you for coming. But the thing is that one thing I knew is that I was always serving a great country that I valued and all the things that come with it, and I appreciated it. And to my fellow sisters and brothers here who are veterans, I really appreciate you showing up today. And what we all can do, always, was when you see a veteran, somebody wearing a hat. We wear these hats to give you little clues, right? That we served our country, right? Well, maybe they're a little bolder than that, but we often do. Just take the time to stop by, shake their hand, and use 2 words. And I won't be Joe Biden and say 3. It's this simple. Thank you. Say thank you.
Thank you, Matt. And I realize I've been a little remiss to recognize all of the elected officials that are here today. Deputy Mayor Tracy Buxton, Councilmember Gene Otzinger. From our local water district, we have Yashiko Grace Matsui. And who?
From the school board.
Oh, from the school board. I'm sorry, who's?
She was here.
Is that Vaziagos? I don't see her, but apparently she was here. And our former mayor, Matt Pena. I'd like everybody to stop for a minute and join me in a moment of silence to remember those that didn't make it back, those that aren't able to tell their story today. And you may not recognize that last part either. It's not part of the music. So I'd like to thank everybody for coming. I'm going to turn the closing remarks over to Mayor Matt Mahoney. And just so you know, he has really been the driving force between getting a ceremony here in Des Moines to thank our veterans. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Harry. It's only because veterans deserve it. Basically, I want to thank you all for coming. We have got lots of treats. I want to thank, she hates when I call her out, but Nadia, and of course the Lynn Scotts for helping provide some great things. And of course my lovely wife Bev, which you clearly can see I traded up. But please, let's have socialization and let's enjoy the treats, and thank you for coming. See you next year.
Thank you for the coat. Take it back now. I'm okay. I can get out. Yeah. I'm okay. Take the coat back. I'm going to do it.
So we've been here at Des Moines, the new city that I live in. This is Bettina Carey, and what a beautiful ceremony that this town put together, and so excited to be a part of this wonderful community. These are just some of my new friends. We've got Nadia over here, and I'm going to chase down Bev. Bev, another new friend. Thank you so much for bringing me here. There's Matt Pina. What a great group of people. There's Pat.
Oh, hi.
Pat, that was the most beautiful speech I've ever heard.
Oh, gee, thank you.
I would love to have a copy of your speech at some point. Oh, you're going to give it to me right now? Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir, rather.
I'm going to get a cup of coffee.
Okay. We've got the fire department here, the police department, and a nice community gathering. Just love it. That was a great speech.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you very much.
Now this is where the good times begin, and I'm going to go ahead and sign off. Of course, today I'm thinking of my own father, and who's passed away in 2006. And I miss you, Daddy, every single day. Bye for now, everybody.